there, welcome to this week's Soul Tarot and Oracle Guidance. The dates for today and for anybody watching this a bit later, this could also relate to you when you see it at the time, but technically I am doing it from the 9th of June to the 15th. Personally, I feel like there's a lot of energy going around in people's heads at the moment, so I think people are going to be really up in their heads. Okay, that's in some way not surprising because we are in Gemini, in the season of Gemini, which is very Mercurian, which means we tend to think a lot and we're overthinking, but there is definitely a sense of overthinking, which is going to create some anxiety for some of you and unnecessary worry. But this could be also because it was triggered by some events for some of you that was rather unexpected and has caused some emotional or even financial anxiety. Now, I know that we're still coming out of the lockdown, and that could also have had an effect on some of you with regards to maybe what you've had planned and all the plans falling apart. Okay, the storm will pass. This is what's behind, the energy that's behind at the moment. And you can see the pillars standing, and there's one cup there, or rather a big plinth that seems to have collapsed. So perhaps two of you might have already experienced some kind of something that was solid that is actually now crumbling, and there's a sense of loss and a sense of an emotional upset and an emotional storm. This has in effect caused various factors that could have led to some anxiety as well, but you need to remember and you need to know that this too shall pass. So whatever seems to be a problem right now, and you know, when it comes to emotional problems, it is really hard to actually just sort of switch off. It is really important that you remain really grounded as well, because here's another card in the back end of the cards. I have spread the cards like last week. What I did last week was I opened some of the cards, and I've got some cards that I shuffled as well, pre-shuffled and pre-laid them down, although the cards are face down on this on the second layer, the kind of more clarifiers, if you like. But what I'm looking at here is from the energy deck, which I quite like, and because it's an energy forecast, if you like, I'm sort of at the moment sticking with the energy oracle cards by Sandra Ann Taylor, and you'll find the card details in the description box. But in the meantime, I feel that some of you are actually really suffering from a lot of mental anxiety, perhaps overthinking, and perhaps even thinking things that are actually not in reality. But if you are actually experiencing some sort of anxiety around what's happened, it could be to do with an emotional upset, to do with an emotional breakup, or some news that you weren't expecting, or some kind of friction that had arisen, okay, that has caused some kind of separation or a sense of abandonment. Yeah. Now, it's really important. My eyes are really also noticing here is the color red. So again, for some of you, this would be really important to concentrate on your root chakra. Will really help. This will help to trust yourself. This will help for you to get regrounded and rerouted. It's really important. I'm really sensing that last week I ended the reading with the crown chakra and really invoking the idea of peace and bringing the energy into your body so you can really kind of come from a place of peace. There's a lot of anxiety around anyway. We've also experienced a kind of collective and a global storm around Black people matter, and all the news that's going around. So it's very easy for us to actually get over anxious at the moment, and particularly feeling a lack of peace. Now, I ended up last week's reading as well, and if you haven't seen it, do go back to it, because there will be sequential these in some way, because energy just doesn't just jump from one situation to another, although certain things, of course, it can happen rather suddenly. But in essence, there is always a flow. There's a natural tide that tends to flow within our our bloodstream, if you like, so as with our energy stream as well. And so these things will be, for some of us who are resonating with this reading, it will probably flow from one week to another. Okay, and as I was saying, the crown chakra it could be very much affected at the moment because of the amount of noise that's going on in our heads. Now, when we get too over in our heads, it is difficult to sit down and actually meditate. I agree with that, but there are other ways of doing sort of getting grounded, and that is to go out into nature, get your feet on the ground, to do some chanting. Mantras are really, really helpful because they have a certain sound and a resonance and B sound, which can be really, really healing and very powerful. But the opening card of the actual spread for this week's reading was the Magician in the mirror, looking like that, but actually it was in the reverse. So this tells me definitely that some power has been compromised, and I feel like in some way one of the things that came from last week's reading was what was very, very key and very important was for us to recognize our value and to really see what we want, what we need to have in our lives. And in order to make these decisions, we have to be able to really look honestly in the mirror, or in our soul mirror, in our hearts, if you like. And because this is turned upside down rather than upright, I feel like in some way there has been some kind of compromise on some people's power, where you are actually not being fully honest about what it is that you really want. I think there's a sense of fear that's running that indecision. And oh, speaking of indecision, you know, this is actually interesting, the second card. So in some way, this is where the anxiety is coming as well. This is the energy at the back end, all right? And this is at the bottom of the deck. So I feel in some way, some of you are very much at a crossroads and come to a possible stalemate or an impasse even, that has now caused you to fear a decision or not know which way to go. Interestingly, I also feel that comes from a place of the other card from the bottom of the deck, which was also in last week's reading with attachment. So some of you are still very much holding on to something or somebody or an idea that you are not willing to let go of, or rather holding on to the attachment of what you think and how you feel it needs to be. Now, unfortunately, when that happens, we tend to naturally go into a state of anxiety. Okay, and we do a state of anxiety because we don't have any control, and we're not allowing ourselves to control. You're wanting to control the situation and you can't. So this is what's happening. It's a bit like the storm that's going on in the background. You can't actually control the storm. Okay, so you have to sit it out and you have to wait it out. Now, as human beings, we're not very good at doing that. Okay, that would often naturally come from a place of lack of inner strength and also self-esteem, I would say. All right, but this is how the week is opening up in terms of the energy you're coming into the week with for some of you. All right, so you might actually find that, like I said, you have a decision to make. You have two options or maybe even several options, okay? One, I would say, is the thing is you can never go back into the past, because the past is what's brought you to where you are. So even if you want to get back with someone or back to a situation, the energy has already changed. You're already in the kind of now situation. So you can never really go back to how things were. Okay, but you can go forward from the things, from what's happened and what you possibly have learned to move forward. But I really feel that in some way right now, it is not the time to make a decision. And I think that's because there's too much going on energetically around us. There's too much confusion, and we can't really see the wood for the trees. So my recommendation here would be to be still and to wait out to get a very much more of a clearer guidance. Okay, again, if you look at this figure here, she or he is wearing a red cloak. Okay, again, root chakra color. I really recommend that you really get grounded on this in this instance. And really start connecting with what has true value for you and what is truly important, so you can get rooted to the truth of yourself. It's really important, all right? Because I think it's so easy to overthink things and find that you're actually not being really honest with what is true and needs to happen, rather than what you think, which is all up here rather than being all down here, okay, which is very, very important. All right, this brings me to the next card that we're moving into energetically into the week, and I feel that in some way that this again, interestingly, is the thinking man, but he holds a crystal. Now, crystals are something that are very grounded and is from the earth. All right, and there's going to be some clarity if you give yourself time to actually get rooted, so you can actually find the space that you're in and rushing out of to make a decision will become very clear. Now, also this card informs me that in some way, some of you actually could be moving on to new possibilities and new ideas and new plans, and maybe even coming together with some other people to make that possible. There's a small cluster of crystals there. So I feel like in some way there's an opportunity that could be coming into your hands that could actually allow you to be teaming up with people and maybe creating a brighter whole of your creativity. Yeah, and this could actually be something that you could be building towards, or actually create a bigger possibilities for your future. Okay, so this is a really good thing right now here. Okay, there is a change of wind. So again, just quickly picking up, oh my God, how interesting is that? Okay, just going back to the previous one, I think, like I said, some people, I don't know if I already said this, but some of you do feel abandoned and orphaned and feeling very, very sad, which is really very, very upset, in fact. It could to do with a heartbreak, but it's more a sense of feeling that you feel very lost and you can't actually see your way out, which is very similar to the anxiety card. And I'm getting this from actually the Wisdom of Oracle deck, which was a card that fell out while I was actually pre-shuffling the cards. So I decided to take it as I felt that it actually had some resonance to the energy cards that I already had opened on the table. Okay, so one or two of you are actually feeling left out or feeling that you actually are not part of something. But what's interesting is I think whatever it is as well that you're looking for on the outside is very much in the inside of yourself. And I think it's so underneath your own nose that you can't actually even see it. And there's something actually far greater working in your favor, or there is actually something far bigger than you can possibly imagine that you're actually sitting on. And I say this because, again, it's a bit tricky. There is a face in that. Oh, no, it's gone. There's anyway a face in there that I feel that there's either your inner wisdom as well. Okay, this is a very firm, or something that's going to firmly plant you, or some belief system that's firmly planted that is not working in your favor, or something that you're actually not seeing, that actually you are failing to recognize it because you're too busy feeling and thinking that you're on your own, or nobody loves me, or something along those lines, or I am completely, yeah, if you actually look at the figure, she's got her shoulders right down and she's feeling really sorry for having a major pity party there. Okay, but know that things will change. There's going to be a change in the wind. Okay, this is a very changeable time as well. We've just experienced an eclipse this weekend just gone. We've got another major eclipse in 2 weeks time, so the energy is going to be quite intense. It could actually, for some of you, bring a storm, or rather some kind of eclipse, like a thundering situation, out to the forefront as well, because we're in a slightly different timeline. So just be warned. Okay, this is a storm warning. So some of you actually might find that something is actually going to be eclipsed out of your life, or certain things will crumble, if not already. Okay, because these energies work differently for different people. Okay, and depending on the placing in your actual natal chart, it will have a different impact in different time. Not so much timing, because eclipse happens at a certain time, but the tide, okay, what pulls it in. Okay, so again, it will really depend on where it is at. Otherwise, we'll all be experiencing the same thing on the very same day and all that kind of stuff. And of course, we all know that is not possible, and it's not very unlikely. But I will say that there is definitely going to be some kind of change for some people, and I think it can be also very positive, and it's actually going to redirect some of you in a most unexpected way. Now, what that could also do, which is so interesting as well, because here we are right underneath that card, we have the fork in the road again. So again, this is very similar to this indecision. Oh, sorry, that one. All right, from 2 decks, they're literally very the same. Yeah, so this is you actually feeling that you actually need to sort of make a decision. But I say, release your monkey mind, because there's a monkey there. And like I said, I just can't help feel that there's a lot of noise, a lot of mental communication going on in your own head, as well as possibly even mentally communicating with other people, or overthinking. Maybe, why has this happened? What is going on? What can I do? There's this kind of sense of needing to control things. I personally feel, stay grounded, stay really rooted in yourself, and then you will get the clarity that you really, really need. Yeah, and then definitely on the splitting of the deck with the change of the wind was the card that I really recommend as well, that we're bringing in the here and now. So the real key message, this is towards what really needs to happen, is to stay in the here and now. The problem is when we get over emotional, you come out of being in the present. Okay, because it's our emotions that tend to get swept. Again, what's really underneath at this, the actual main card of the spread this week was the yin and yang. Again, very much, not very much, but inverted. When I got this card that came inverted for me, I felt that normally we say yin and yang, and of course there's a yang and yin now, and I really feel that in some way that what we need to be doing, most of us, and so whoever is listening as well, that you need to be more in your masculine. All right, very much important. And also with a thinking man here, this is about really thinking clearly, trying to get away from the emotions, if you like, because emotions can really run us and we can get sort of swept aside and, you know, done in by the storms and everything. And this is really, again, clarified by this card, all right, which is being in the here and now. Okay, in this one as well, we've got here a past and the future. So I think there's a lot of people being suspended right now. We all are to a point about what's next, what's possible, what is going to come through that door. Okay, if you see there is an opening, but it's not quite fully open yet. And that's because in some way that the egg is not ready to hatch. We can't see all the answers. And in some way, you know, we are very much doing machines. We've been raised to get results. We've been raised to make things happen, and most people on the whole are not very good at things allowing things to emerge. Yeah, I'm just looking at what that banner said. Okay, so you're here, so maybe it's about even accepting where you are right now. Okay, to be with where you are and really nurture yourself and accepting that, not having to push things to take it into you know, a brighter place or a darker place, or no overthinking in any way. All right, I am now going to open the lower set of cards here, which are from my Rider, the classic Rider-Waite Tarot cards. Okay, now I pre-shuffled these and brought them out. What's interesting actually is underneath the card is, so I do feel in some way that some people are going to get an opportunity. The Magician in the Mirror also can actually signify something coming in unexpectedly, and then you having to grab the opportunity as it comes. So because it's on the inverted, possibly as well that there could be some overthinking or needing to think about it. And I think in some way I would say both. Okay, some of you maybe might overthink things, because here we've got the Seven of Pentacles underneath the Magician in the Mirror and the card of indecision. So you can see here in some way that he's actually thinking and overthinking. Classically, I know that this card also portrays the card of somebody being bored. I always tend to read this card as this guy feeling bored. He's got all these possible coins, all these possible skills and talents, and yet he's not quite sure which way to go. But I do feel somehow, in some way, that again, by being still instead of thinking, because again, he's just pondering there, but the pondering is a form of thinking, isn't it, really? Is not to overthink it, because what came out with that card actually was the Ace of Pentacles, which is very much a key sign of something new coming in, a blessing from the gods or the universe, or some absolute clear direction. Being Pentacles here as well is to do with money, but this also could to do with something that brings you a lot of fulfillment, I'd say. So in some way, for anyone related to some work situation, I'd say if you are given two options or some direction and you don't know which way to go, wait to see what is going to happen. Okay, wait to get some clarity and try not to overthink things, and try not to feel that you're the one who's left behind as well, because some clarity will definitely come to you in terms of a key opportunity that could be out of the blue as well. In the meantime, I think, which is quite a nice contrast to the thinking man, we have the Queen of Cups as well. In some way, I would say that actually really allow yourself to kind of get nurtured emotionally. So while you need to think more logically, all right, which also I'm going to bring this other card. I got the King of Wands underneath the Yin and Yang, okay, which is on the upside down, which I feel also very much that the energy we need to really bring into the space, into the outer space, will be more the Yang, which is somebody taking charge and being more logical in the decision making, and maybe thinking up more practical decisions. Okay, so making decisions as to what you need to get, how can you actually move your life forward, what would serve me most in terms of how can I actually, you know, sort of bring my ideas into fruition, and where can I take them, and what direction do I need to go into? I think these would be the questions that be swimming in most people's minds. Again, there will definitely be some kind of new opportunities that could be presenting themselves that are yet to be in fruition. But that said, because I've got the page and the king very close to each other underneath the thinking man and the yin and yang card as well, that I would say that in some way, in some cases, there could be some new opportunity or new ideas flourishing that could mature very quickly. All right, but this actually, those two cards actually follow, interestingly, these two cards which came out with this. I've got three cards that fell out. Okay, I'm going to start with the first card that I picked up. So this is the Queen of Cups. I feel like some of you have actually gone through a storm. This in the Rider Tarot always looks so deadly and very unpleasant. And it can be also a very, very unpleasant time that some of you have come out of. I feel this is more definitely a coming out of card rather than actually going into. All right, on the whole, I'd say definitely the majority are coming out of what could have been a very difficult time, or a time that somehow now is being lifted. Okay, this is possibly the case because you've actually been nurturing yourself, and you're asked to nurture yourself. Be good to yourself, feed yourself, nourish yourself emotionally. So give yourself room to feel your feelings, so you can actually, you know, sort of hold your feelings without actually wanting to dismiss them. Okay, some of you might need to go out by the sea or by nature as well, so you can actually really allow your emotions to be felt. But that is not to say that you allow your emotions to actually dictate the movement. Very different. There's a huge distinction there, okay? Because very much by feeling your feelings, you're honoring them, but you actually really need, we've got very, very masculine, strong masculine energy this week. So, you know, and as women, sometimes we can get really irritated by a man thinking and not feeling. But so if you're a woman, I really recommend that you bring more of that masculine energy into your space. For some of you as well, you could be also thinking about not only about teaming up with people, which I think I already mentioned, but definitely about possibly learning some new skills as well. It could be a new language. It could be a new course that you might want to undertake, or some new skills in order to communicate things clearly. So it could be maybe actually having to learn new platforms as well on the internet, so you can actually be able to communicate your thoughts. You will be definitely getting some more new ideas as well, but it is very much in doing that you need to be able to really crystallize them. Okay, so that's really important. Coming back to this card, so some of you might have just recently gone through this, but I think my personal feelings are that this is from sort of the way behind. And that's partly because also what I really like is you've had the retreat card has come here. So if this is quite recent for some of you, definitely taking time out, which is very much the theme last week. For many of you, I did recommend that you take some time out to rest and rejuvenate. We got a card of non-action last week, if you remember, or to do look back. There's a card of for some of you who are really struggling with the attachment, but the key message last week in terms of how to engage was to be disciplined in terms of what you did within your relationships. The card of non-action, to rest and rejuvenate, so you can actually really bring some peace into the space with your thinking and your value. The main message was your daughter value. What do you really value? What is important for you? Are you getting your needs met? Okay, so some of you might have actually been doing this, all right, which is also nurturing yourself and really spending some quality time with yourself. And which is really, really important. But it has come back up again, which I really feel that in some way it's still very much the theme. The theme is to be more self-contained and to actually really nourish your cup by eating well, by allowing your emotions to be rested, and to actually allow the inspiration to come through. This also, I feel, works really well with this card. And the fork in the road, and this card actually is underneath the fork in the road line as well. So in some way, by taking some time out, not being in a hurry to make a decision, and not to overconsume your mind with too many whys or how-tos or anything like that, but to allow the solution to appear. If you see this person is very rested, is thinking pensively, and maybe even in contemplation and prayer, all right? The swords, as you know, for people who do follow the tarot readings, are often to do with our thinking. Often this card is also portrayed for some betrayal. You could actually have 3 options as well, because we do have a lot of option cards. Okay, there's a fork in a road and indecision. So maybe at the moment you have quite a few options about where to go, maybe where you might want to live, what job should you take. You know, none of us really know what is going to appear, as we're still in transition in many ways. So somehow I would say take stock. I do feel that to do some kind of meditation would be really good, or some kind of prayer for some guidance, particularly when we're unable to strategize ourselves out of a situation. Whatever you're clinging to also is not only going to cause you anxiety, which is what I've said to you earlier on, previous, and there is definitely that happening for some of you. Okay, there's no question. Some of you are holding on to previous old ideas, or a person, or anything like that, and you're going to get yourself in a jam. All right, so what you really need to do is get into this place of contemplation and almost surrender it. Okay, if some of you find that you need to actually be in a space of forgiveness, which is to do with this could be also very much like an emotional healing and coming to some kind of maturity around the emotional healing. You are only able to liberate yourself once you really go inward and find a space for forgiveness to help you untangle yourself from any neediness that could be actually in the attachment that could be present for all the, for all the parties concerned. So this is to do with the relationship, perhaps that you've recently been broken up, or feel that you've been left out, or there's been some kind of decision made on your not on your behalf but out of your control, if you like. Then this goes either sex, by the way. You need to get to a place where it has to be accepted for a new possibility to arise. Okay, yeah, in some way it's blocking your happiness, and also a sense of peace. I do feel that in some way that in order to move forward as well, that you possibly need to renew yourself, which is very much this card. Okay, so I am going to move on to the surrender card. Okay, I did already pre-shuffle this, and I'm going to firstly show you what's actually at the bottom of the deck. Okay, which is actually quite interesting. I think some of you as well, that there's a sense of needing to control other people. All right, now sometimes when we come to a relationship, naturally we tend to want to hold on. Okay, now being over controlling can sabotage relationships, it says here. And to be more effective, achieve your goals, back off, regroup, and give the situation some breathing room. So I think this is actually really poignant, because by being in the state of anxiety, which is often created, like I said, through over worrying and trying to control the situation, and like I said before, we've got this card here of attachment. It really fits very well. So I feel in some way that you really need to allow something to show up. Okay, need to take this space as well to really recharge yourself. Okay, and just just really pull back. This could also be to do with some goals that you might have, as it says here, but I also feel for some of us, it is actually because things are changing and we don't even know where things are going. There could be a tendency to want to take control. I would recommend also that you actually just get on with the basic things that is very much present in your immediate here and now, which is what I said earlier on, to stay in the here and now. And so that's to engage with what you can on a day-to-day basis and not make any particularly over major decisions. In fact, I would even recommend that you do, partly because if we're going to get the eclipse at the end of the month, whatever you think you're going to be doing now can actually also really kind of get eclipsed and put you in a different trajectory, and you'll have to probably undo a lot of your thinking, which could also maybe explain why we've got a change of wind. All right, and like I said, we've also got this thunder here. All right, now this is also, of course, not to cause any anxiety. So if some of you are already kind of actually sitting in some kind of anxiety because you are actually worried about I can't really make any decisions now, I know the eclipse is going to come up and all that. Again, that's really fruitless. So the idea is take time out and really release what you need to do. Let's see. Yeah. Now, because I've already pre-shuffled them, I've taken 3 cards as well. Some of you actually... Alright, I'm not quite sure where we got to because again it's split for some reason. I have to figure out my camera very well because it splits after a certain point. But I don't know if it actually continues to record, that's the thing. But anyway, as I was saying, that some of you, because of the situation, we've got actually Neptune Pisces, which could also make people feel very kind of apathetic, or actually wants to actually sort of get sort of a bit out of it or off your face, or feel very kind of needing to sort of override the sense of discomfort, I would say. I personally think now and again it's fine. You know, but if you're somebody who actually sort of gets into a role of over drinking quite a lot because you can't handle your emotions or what's going on around you, or turning to overworking food or people, you really want to definitely watch, you know, the tendency to do that. This, of course, is very much, again, to do with low self-esteem. Now, you need to actually, I think in some way as well, that in order to grab the opportunity that could actually be coming in, make sure that your esteem is in a strong place. So this is also to do with your solar plexus. So anybody who might be suffering from that, do concentrate on your solar plexus, because that will really help to engage your power and take opportunities when they arise. I do feel in some way that your opportunities could come up, because you see that one coin there, okay? This could be the thing. So maybe you're even waiting and wishing for a possible opportunity to come through. But I feel that in some way you might get some definite great news. And this is actually a really beautiful one to actually, whatever happens, surrender your esteem. Don't doubt the opportunity that you're being offered. It could be a great opportunity out of the blue, and it is really important that you grab it. Okay, for some of you as well, that it could be an esteem that you might feel that you don't deserve love, or you're actually settling for something else that you know that you are. I really suggest that also you really work on your self-esteem, or know that your esteem that you have, and can release any remnants of anything that keeps you held back into something that you are not worthy of, in terms of that you deserve more. Okay, if there's anybody having any drama around you, I suggest that this could be also quite a volatile time. Try and stay disengaged from it, okay? And do not get emotionally charged, which is interesting because, again, here, this card really fits this yin and yang card. You know, it says here, no matter how emotionally charged you are in the situation, remain calm and don't contribute to drama. So in other words, also stay quite male in your yang energy, which means to dissociate, to stand back, and to be able to be logical rather than to get over emotional. Okay, so that is the message definitely for some of you that's coming through. You really want to make sure that if you stay centered, you're able to clear up whatever problems that could be arising. Now, it sounds all very kind of negative. I hope not. But yeah, and I just split this as well, so I'm going to take it because it really fits with this, which is also really interesting as well. So really, you know, sometimes when we can't have control over certain things, the best way to really kind of come to a certain place of peace is also really surrender it to prayer. So, you know, just give yourself over to prayer and ask that everything work out to your highest good. Very, very important, okay? We've learned to be very controlling and to have things in a certain way, and we've become less trusting. And what's really important, that the universe will hear your prayers, but the best way to actually really get the answer that supports you is to surrender the solution and how it ought to look like and what needs to happen over to the universe. Right, so I'm just wondering if there's anything else. I think I'm going to do one more card, and I'm going to take this from my tree affirmation card deck. I picked this up in a small esoteric shop by the coast one time, and there are actually just really lovely cards of wisdoms from the standing people. So just to finish and to clarify, and perhaps to give you some comfort or whatever need that you might have. Whoop. Okay, look at that one. Yeah, interesting again. Okay, so this card is for focus, which is again very male. So I really recommend that what we really need at this time is to stay focused without getting over emotional. So if you find yourself falling into dramas, focus on yourself being held together, very important, or focus on what you want, if you like, but then try not to control anything. I'm just going to see what we can maybe find here. It's really important as well, and perhaps you even want to put actually some ideas or some plans or some strategy into place, which is actually very much those two cards as well. All right, so those two cards is another, you know, particularly the Seven of Coins. It is sometimes meaning about getting your ducks in order, getting some goals set in place, as with a thinking man. Okay, so it's really important that in some way this is a very logical area. So try and stay grounded. If you are in a place where you can't be in the here and now, try and get refocused and get rooted. Keep even without making any decisions and being able to not make any decisions, you can actually start putting some ideas or plans or goals, and then start putting your focus there. You don't actually necessarily have to act on it, but you certainly certainly stay focused. Let's have a look. Focus, focus, focus. And another thing I was saying is an energy of Gemini, of course, it's hard for us to sort of stay focused. So in some way I would say as well that maybe even going out to nature, you know, and I really recommend nature. I mean, you're going to get nature from me, you know, week in and week out, because I really feel that nature is what keeps us grounded and focused. Okay, particularly the grounding, really important at the moment. But I would say do allow yourself to connect with nature, and again I feel that, you know, there is some element of water in this picture as well behind the poplar tree, and I got that with the Queen of Cups as well, where there's water. So if some of you can get to a nearby stream or to the sea, I feel that there's some emotional comfort you're going to definitely get there during the times while we feel that we're finding our minds to be overactive and unfocused. Now the other thing is, if you have a tendency to lean towards addictions or some kind of substance or some kind of you know, it could be also overusing Facebook or just being on the TV or just surfing the net all the time. All these things are a form of addictions, and they're very, very subtle, because we do it so often now that we don't even realize it's an addiction. It's just some kind of way we spend time. I would really recommend that you actually pull back from that, really engage in sort of spending some time contemplating, and really putting maybe more practice into your sense of self, into your heart, and maybe in a form of prayer. Okay, and if you don't like doing that, definitely go out into nature. Okay, each to their own, but there's a way of how you can actually find solutions and stuff. This card also, I feel, also is very much got a very strong nature base with the Ace of Coins as well, where you can see there's a path that you're being led to, and I think in some way by connecting to nature you might get actually the idea or the inspiration that you could be struggling from, because this is another possibility for some of you, that instead of waiting for the opportunity, it is actually an inspiration that will come through for you that would actually help to put maybe the last piece of the puzzle or something that you need to do to really get you going. All right, like I said, very much a male dynamic energy, and there's definitely something new surfacing. So coming back to the poplar, okay, focus comes to me naturally and effortlessly when I need it. Okay, so this says here, these trees are all about focus. They know where they're going up, and when the wind blows they bend gracefully with it. But as they grow, it always in the same direction. So that's true. If you look at it, the poplars are always tall and grown. Okay, again, it's very important for you to keep yourself in the company of like-minded people, so people can help us feel focused. Okay, that was another key message from last week, about really sort of seeing who actually belongs in your world and who doesn't belong in the world. So this is really key, okay, and to keep that focus as well, and not to compromise yourself. Sometimes when we feel vulnerable or whatever, we tend to sort of naturally go again, not only towards the addiction substance, but maybe to certain people that we know actually are not that great for us, because in some way it's a comfort to us, rather than staying in the space of not knowing, space of choice or indecision. Okay, when we don't know, we don't like to be in the here and now. And again, this is a card that actually sort of being, you know, we tend to sort of want to go one way or the other instead of just being. All right, if I were you, I'll just actually really do things that actually you enjoy personally yourself. And I really feel in some way it's a bit more of a taking time out, which is really kind of what I suggested last week. It says when we want to achieve something, we need to know the direction we're going and align ourselves with it. These trees embody the longer term focus. Okay, the kestrel hovering above them shows a different type of focus. You see there. Short-term focus. It has its eye on a mouse below and watches and waits for the right time to swoop and catch it. And in your life, look for a long-term focus. In your life, look for the long-term focus or direction, and then, like the kestrel, watch and wait to spot the opportunities which will get you there. Which is actually really kind of reflective of that card, those two particularly. Okay, so maybe, like I said, you've got some opportunities and you're waiting. Maybe it's a case of the right timing. Really important. Okay, do not force it. It's like sometimes what we tend to do is because we're so over controlling and we get so anxious, we tend to want to pull the what's it called, you kind of pull things at the root. You don't give it a chance to actually reveal itself. All right, and I can still really imagine that that's quite typical of few people out there. Yes, so in any situation there comes a time to take action, but when you think of your goals, become aware of yourself. Okay, become aware of how you're holding yourself. Are you rooted? It says imagine yourself as a poplar tree. Send down roots from your feet and draw the nourishment into the body, to your head and into the air above. By doing so, you get yourself grounded and you release it to the universe. Stand tall and align yourself to your purpose, and imagine that your consciousness of this purpose is like the kestrel, which scans the landscape and knows exactly when to act. And this is very true, because it's only being through in the here and now that we can actually know when to move. All right, so it's almost like a question of be still and let's see where we need to go. I'm just wondering, is anything else I really want to add to a possibility? No. So I think in some way really important that you will find your way through. You will definitely find your way through, but do stay in the appreciation of the now as well. Stay with what you can, because you will find your doorway actually opening up as well, which is very of that. It will reveal itself, that door will open. And I just split the deck. So again, we got this card, which was also reflective last week. The door will open, but you need to just stay and be still. Almost smell the roses. Appreciate where you are. Appreciate what is around you, and be in where you are now, no matter how uncomfortable it could be, or drama filled it could be, or anxiety filled it could be. It is really important that you do so. And finally, because the last card, you will know when to act. Once that door opens, you'll know when to move forward. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I think the real message of the energy is to try and stay out of your head, try and be still, get rooted, go out in nature, and really think about that poplar tree. Get yourself roots coming down, think about your spine nice and long, get some breath work into your body, get yourself feeling expansive, and kind of really drink in nature so you can feel really grounded. Appreciate that all is around you. Those who are actually suffering from a heartbreak or some difficult time, that is definitely passing or has passed for some of you. Okay, some of you have really done the work, you've done the healing as well, you've done the nurturing, and I feel that it's for many of you out there as well. The dark clouds are really beginning to lift. Think logically though, think like a man, be logical in your ideas. Get things in order, okay, and really try to avoid any form of control or any drama. Do something very ordinary that will allow you to engage. It could be like also doing housework, any of that kind of thing, as well as get on with your projects, but do not act on anything till you find that the doorway will open. And this could be any energy now. For some of you, this will be this week. You'll get some news from now till towards the beginning of next week, or towards the eclipse time as well. So be open to the energy that is expansive. Okay, and yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you very much for listening. Cultivate on your inner strength. Very important. That's all also very solar plexus chakra. And speaking of chakras as well, if you subscribe on my channel, there'll be a link below actually, and by subscribing you can actually get one of these what I call the Everyday Alchemist Support sheet. There are images of each chakra, mantras for each chakra, mudras for each chakra, and some yoga postures to kind of stimulate these chakras as well. By signing up to my newsletter, you can do that through www.rafahsabat.com. You can also automatically get this link to that once you subscribe. Anything else, any other announcements, do like and share. I will be doing also, and I'm hoping to start on Ask Rafah live on Sunday's brunch hour, to do readings on questions that people ask me. These are of course very general readings, so if you've got a specific question that you want to ask me on either love, work, or relationships, or work relationships, or family relationships, or any particular issue, I am at the moment asking people to write in, and you can find the details with a link below as well. And I will be doing that and launching those live. I will be doing these readings for the time being and seeing how they go, and I may make them shorter and then put the extended version on Patreon or some kind of way to monetize my work as well, because of course all this takes a lot of time, and I love doing this, but I really feel that we need to be honored for what we do. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you'll come back next week and see what will happen, and please do comment below and see, and let me know if there's anything that really superbly resonated with you or not. And yeah, I will catch you next week. Bye for now. Bye. Okay, having said that, bye. This is a goodbye, but I just feel that there's a message for some people out there, or one or two of you out there, that as I was about to pack my table of the cards, I feel that this really is definitely much in resonance for some of you, and maybe even just the one person out there. But I feel that in some way here you need to really take this on board. Okay, some of you maybe are trying to fix somebody. Okay, you feel that by actually convincing them, or by you know, wanting them to change, that you're going to be able to actually really get the kind of partnership you want. Now, unfortunately, this is not the case. Okay, all relationships, not all, you know, but the relationships needs to be effortless. Now, if you're always battling in or having differences, that we feel that by fixing somebody, that you're going to get somebody, you know, the person you want, that is just not going to happen. So for a particular somebody out there, or to a very small handful of you, this message is very much, it's time for a relationship to shift. It doesn't work to try and fix someone. Each person must be accountable for his or her own healing. This is quite common for many of the kind of strong individuals, women out there particularly as well, especially if you're an awakened person. You tend to attract a lot of unawakened souls, but you see them through who they really are, as in their them. But unfortunately there are you know, sort of levels, not levels lower, but somehow, how can I put it, that they're actually not in the sphere of wanting to engage in inner work. So unless your partner is really wanting to do the inner work, and this goes for vice versa as well. So if you're a male looking at this and you're trying to fix your girlfriend, or you want your girlfriend to be different, or whatever it is, just know that somehow that you can't, and everyone, and each and everyone is responsible for their own healing. So that's just a little extra that I've decided to throw in. Thanks again, and if this resonated, great. If not, then doesn't matter. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye.